Good morning, Beacon. Welcome, beloved. Welcome to Beacon, a community committed to radical inclusion, to feeding the human spirit, and yes, to healing the world. I'm Reverend Dr. Robin. I am a member of the leadership team here at Beacon, joined today by my colleagues, Reverend Emily Bogus and Dr. Tuli Patel, who you'll see later on in our service. Do you know, beloved, that you are beloved? At Beacon, we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We say a big yes to interconnection and a hallelujah to the diversity of human experience, mirroring the beauty and diversity of this beloved earth. So you are beloved, hallelujah. And we are building a beloved community where systemic racism, white supremacy, and oppression cannot have the final word. A beloved community where we shine together. So maybe you aren't feeling so shiny and sparkly today, beloved. That's okay. Come in here with your whole self, we say. Because at Beacon, we don't shine by hiding who we are. We shine in the midst of struggle, in the midst of truth, in the midst of pain, in our collective power. So come in here now, Beacon. Share with us your name, your pronouns, Reverend Dr. Robin, she, her, and where you're joining us from. I'm in Summit, New Jersey, our sanctuary at 4 Waldron. Let's get liberated together. Let's get healing, hope. Let's get truth. Let's be a beacon.
Do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave them there when you come into this place. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. And do not leave your cares at the door. Oh, bring your pain and sorrow and joy. There's a place for them upon the altar of life. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. And do not leave your cares at the door. This is a place of grace, a place of losing and finding our way upon the winding road. Meeting and parting, stumbling and starting over. Every story is sacred here, even yours, even yours. So come on in and do not leave your cares at the door. Do not leave them there when you come into this place. Be open to forgiveness and transformation. Come on in, you are welcome here. Come in and do not leave your cares at the door. Amen. Amen. Amen.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Lewis, and I've been a member of a community group for several years. A community group is a voluntary gathering of members who meet regularly in a nurturing, supportive, accepting space to consider questions of ultimate value. My original group no longer has the same members, as new members join and longtime ones leave. Regardless of the makeup of the group, my community group has provided a safe space where I can share intimate details on my personal life. Because the meeting themes focus on what is precious and sacred, it allows me to walk with the questions. Our meetings have allowed me to know members at a deeper level than that of just conversing in social hour. When others speak, I'm always amazed to discover that many of their experiences are unique, not just to me, but they too know the same joys, hurts, loss, and self-doubts. I look forward to our meetings because I know whatever I speak will be listened to, accepted, and held up without judgment. Community group is uplifting to me, not only for the sharing, but for the insightful readings that are chosen. I would not have been exposed to many of the readings if it were not for community group. Quite often, I leave the meetings recognizing that I had some aha moment, or that a smile is on my lips on account of the readings. If you don't belong to one, I recommend you give community group a try so you may connect to some of your aha moments.
This chalice burns with an inner and an outer flame. The inner flame burns for those who seek and defend the right to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, so that each person may live according to their conscience in a democratically elected society. The outer flame burns for the defenders of freedom, working against those who would impose their own religious beliefs on others through intimidation or legislation. We seek to create a world where sexuality and sexual diversity is celebrated with holiness and integrity for people of all genders. With the kindling of this dual flame, we reaffirm our commitment to accept life's gifts with grace and gratitude, and to use them to bless this world in the spirit of love. May we tend this fire always, ever vigilant and courageous in the struggle for freedom and justice for all.
Good morning, Beacon. Our service today is woven through call and response, and we are grateful to the Reverend Julia Hamilton, a former Beacon intern who is now serving the Santa Barbara congregation, for offering us our responsive elements today. This sanctuary, the one that we create together, is a container for all of our stories, the stories that we share, and those that we hold quiet and to ourselves. The stories that bring us joy and fulfillment, and the stories that break us open. The stories that change and grow with us, and the stories that we outgrow and leave behind. Each one of us carries a lifetime of stories each and every time we enter this sanctuary, whether virtual or in person. Our call for reproductive rights is also rooted in our stories. As you listen this morning, there may be stories from your own life that surface in unexpected ways. If you recognize yourself in one of these stories, I invite you to put your hand over your heart wherever you are and know that you are not alone. There is someone in this gathered sanctuary, this gathered community, holding their hand over their heart too. As Reverend Robin and I light our responsive candles, we invite you to hold space for your story, whatever it may be. Following each story, we will respond through the kindling of light, and then we will invite all of us to say together the words that Nicole is putting in our chat. May the beginnings and endings of our stories be held in unconditional love and acceptance. And beloved, if you need support after this service and in the days ahead, please do not hesitate to reach out to our care team. Let us begin.
Hi, my name's Mary Alice Carter. My pronouns are she, her. And my testimony is for pillar number 3, the right to not have a child. That right is not just access to abortion, but also the access to the full range of healthcare that lets us make the decisions for what's best for ourselves, including access to birth control to decide when or if to become pregnant, and if we're pregnant and choose not to carry a pregnancy to term, the right to have an abortion. But more so than the right, it's also important that we talk about access, availability, and affordability. Because a right that's only available to people who have money is not a right. Legal is important, but accessible is even more important. And I know this because I've spent 30 years as an activist in reproductive rights. I've worked in reproductive rights and health organizations, and I've supported people who work in the reproductive justice movement. But before that, when I was just an early activist, I was also someone who had an abortion. My story, my testimonial, it's actually pretty boring. I found out I was pregnant. I knew I didn't want to be. I knew I didn't want to have a child in my 20s, and I knew I didn't want to be pregnant and carry a pregnancy to term. So I went, I made an appointment, I had an abortion in my community. I was able to afford it. I came home. I recovered at home in my own bed, and I went on. Years later, I became a mom, and I was ready to be. But that's it. My story is dull. And that's exactly what I want for every single person who wants to access an abortion. Because unfortunately, that's not the case for most people. Unfortunately, so many people run up against barriers. And even when the right is still legal, it's inaffordable because of things like the Hyde Amendment, which say that people who are working to make ends meet, who use Medicaid for their insurance, can't use that insurance for an abortion because of barriers put in place to young people that say they have to inform or get the consent of one or two parents or go in front of a judge. And that's not something that all young people can do because of restrictions on travel, because there aren't enough providers in communities, because they've been shut down. Keeping abortion legal, merely keeping it legal, merely protecting Roe v. Wade or protecting a law that just says it's legal in our state, that's not enough. It needs to be affordable and accessible. We need to hope that everyone can have a boring story like mine, where they choose not to have a child and not to parent, and they're able to access that care with love, dignity, respect in their community and on their own terms.
Thank you, Mary Alice. I light our first candle for all of us whose story includes the choice not to conceive or have children. The circumstances vary, the timelines of our lives are diverse, but the freedom to chart the course of our own reproductive lives is sacred. For all who have made the decision to not conceive or bear children, for whatever reason, under whatever circumstances, we light this candle. I light a second candle for all whose story includes the choice to not or to end a pregnancy. The circumstances vary, the timelines are diverse, but each and every one is also a beginning. For all who have aborted a pregnancy or partnered someone in that abortion, for whatever reason, under whatever circumstances, we light this candle. May the congregation say together, may the beginnings and endings in our stories be held in unconditional love and acceptance.
Hello, my name is Crowley, they, them. I'm a 16-year-old biracial trans youth. As I grow, I want to start hormones, testosterone. Other places do not allow people like me or others to change their appearance how they might please. Women being told when they can't have kids. Government officials telling us what we can and can't do with our bodies is becoming more and more common. As a young child, I saw how this affected me. I was told from a young age, since I was biologically female, that it was my job as a young woman to find a husband and be a lady. From a young age, I was not given the choice. I was told what I was going to do when I turned to an adult. I also struggled with my preferred name and said pronouns. Child Protective Services has been in my life since the year 2013. In grade school, I wanted to be called a different name than my given name, but nobody cared to listen. They deliberately called me my given name. To this day, they still struggle with using my preferred name and pronouns. Only a select few do. In the state of Texas, a law is in that affects the controls women. The law bans abortions as early as 6 weeks. Government officials telling women what to do with their reproductive parts. Government officials also telling trans folk that they can't get hormones, that they can't modify their body, that they were born the way they were. We have the right to choose what to do with our body. It's not just that. We are also accessible to sustainable living for parents with kids, access to contraceptives, sexual health, sexual education, and so much more. It's our right to have access to these vital things. But each day, women and others struggle to get these things. If we want to achieve these things, we have to fight for what's ours. Address the oppression and make it known. The problem will never be solved if we do not make it known. Join communities to get the word out. We have the power. Reproductive justice is a must, and we need to achieve it. It's my body, my choice.
I light a candle for all of us whose reproductive story is still being written. The circumstances vary, the timelines of our lives are diverse, but the future unfolds in surprising and unexpected ways that can be both beautiful and heartbreaking. For all who are at the threshold, who have agency and choices still to make about their reproductive lives, for whatever reason, under whatever circumstance, I light this candle. And let us kindle a second candle, this one, for the stories of our communities and the ones we are ever weaving. In our turning away, in our leaning in our cheering on, and in our casting the net of silence. The circumstances vary. The timelines of our lives are diverse, but let us remember that the stories we tell are of who we are, the ability to create whole and healthy and meaningful relationship. Let us tell all those stories. And the congregation responds, may the beginnings and endings in our stories be held in unconditional love and acceptance.
As we lift our voices on this day,
useful and strong. Let this song our greatest hopes contain. Well-fed children be its just refrain. Roofs over every heartbeat be its tune. Its harmony from peaceful cities hewn. Sing of hope while hammering each nail. Sing of joy while pulling every weed. Sing to renew a covenant grown frail. May every alleluia plant a seed. May every alleluia plant a seed.
Our bodies are rivers.
Rivers of beauty, strength, struggle, defiance, ease, hope, and despair.
Like the rivers, our bodies are filled with the sacred.
When we choose to parent,
It is sacred.
when we choose to end a pregnancy for the sake of our bodies, our psyche, our soul.
It is sacred.
When our bodies need changing and our gender, like the river, is moving, fluid.
It is sacred.
When we love our bodies as they are, different shapes, sizes, skin tones, tattooed, pierced, with lines of age, with curves and angles.
It is sacred.
We bless your bodies and the generation of bodies yet to be. May you and they be free from harm.
Free to flow unfettered, like the rivers, as you have been created to choose, to live, to embody beauty in the diversity of the mosaic that is life.
We bless bodies healing from harm, with wounds and scars, and those bodies struggling to be known and embraced.
You are sacred. May you know healing and the congruity of your beauty within the rejoicing of the earth. Your body is a glorious creation.
We bless your bodies and the generation of bodies yet to be. May you emerge in abundance. May your siblings of this earth hold you in safety, in liberation, and in love.
Blessed be the bodies and the souls entwined in them.
For our right to have a child. I have a pretty poor batting average when it comes to carrying pregnancy to terms. 2 kids out of 7 pregnancies is the statistic. There is a 9-year gap between my biological children, not for lack of trying, but because there were all kinds of hurdles, each one of them devastating in the moment, almost funny, not quite, these many years later. There was the St. Louis doctor who said to us in his bright blue 3-piece suit, $10,000 and a live baby or your money back. Oh, I said, are there scholarships? What would happen if I didn't have the money? Needless to say, I was ushered out pretty soon. Yet again, defeated, demoralized, bone-weary and spent, yet somehow hopeful once more. There was the OB who said to me at age 36, your eggs are very old. Charming, I thought. Do you say this to fathers, something similar about their sperm, or is this just reserved for those of us who are biologically able to bear children? I wondered if our sperm was swimming like Michael Phelps, but never got a robust answer. Motility study, inconclusive. What about people who can't come and talk to experts like you, I thought? Where do they go? Yet again, defeated, demoralized, bone-weary and spent, yet somehow hopeful once more. And then there were the five pregnancies that never took. For a second there, into a round of IVF, it seemed as if I could carry to term, but then around week 12, after the first heartbeat had been detected, after the yolk sac had been proven as healthy, something seemed to go wrong. The burly male doctor in India shaking his head, wagging his finger at me and saying, "I'm not happy with your child's progress." Great report card, fail. Yet again, defeated, demoralized, bone weary and spent, yet somehow hopeful once more. And the late-term abortion at almost 19 weeks, right as we were thinking that this might actually happen, getting ready to let family and friends know, letting out the breath that we had been holding, a final genetic test came back highly compromised. I had always been clear that if the genetic tests were less than sound, even though environmental impacts might result in real human, real life struggles, I would want an abortion. So I've had 5 of them, one of them late term. Yet again, defeated, demoralized, bone weary and spent, yet somehow hopeful once more. Cracking open that adoption file now, eggs definitely much older. In all seriousness, is this just? I have had the means and access to become pregnant, the means and access to study and track each pregnancy, the means and access to avail myself of abortions, one of them late term. What of those who do not? They too must be as I was, defeated, demoralized, bone weary, and spent. Will hope rise for them?
Thank you, Tuli. And so I light a candle for all of us whose stories include the choice to give birth. The circumstances vary, the timelines are diverse, but the choice to bring a new life into the world is a powerful one. And so I light this candle for all who have given birth or partnered in the birth of a child, or for all who have adopted a child birthed by someone else for whatever reason, under whatever circumstance. I light a second candle for all of us whose stories include the unwanted loss of a pregnancy or the struggle with fertility. The circumstances vary. The timelines are diverse, but the pain of infertility, miscarriage, and stillbirth are too often held in silence. For all who have traveled this path of loss for whatever reason, under whatever circumstances, we light this candle. Let the congregation say together, may the beginnings and endings in our stories be held in unconditional love and acceptance.
Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me. Comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul.
I'm Missy Rogers, Beacon member and volunteer coordinator at Summit Warm Hearts, a program of the Summit Interfaith Council for our unhoused neighbors. It has been a life-changing and life-enhancing experience to get to know these neighbors over the last 3 winters. I hear the excitement when someone has made a few dollars doing DoorDash in a day, or the hope that someone can make some money shoveling snow. I've also come to understand the true appreciation of dry socks, a warm meal, deodorant, a toothbrush, and hand lotion. These simple things can be hard to come by for our neighbors without shelter. For women, there is the additional costly burden of menstrual supplies, definitely another aspect of reproductive justice. This is why Beacon is joining with other Summit faith communities for Super Bowl Sunday. We are collecting women's hygiene supplies as well as adult incontinence briefs and household cleaning supplies to support Family Promise, Sage Elder Care, and Grace. You can drop off donations during Summit Warm Heart hours of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Saturday, now through February 6th. Beacon is a community that pays attention, shows up, and takes action. That is why I support Beacon with my monthly financial gift and with my time and energy. We live into a very big mission of radical inclusion, feeding the human spirit, and healing the world, friends. I invite you now to lean into a spirit of generosity as we gratefully receive the Sunday offering.
Morning, everyone. My name is Anna Bloomfield, and I use she, her pronouns. That is my cat, Edgar, who has decided to join me today. We're coming to you live from Chicago, over 700 miles from Beacon and the amazing community that I grew up with. So over the years, my journey of campaigning for reproductive justice has taken many forms, and it really all started in OWL, learning about my body, which then came to me fighting for the rights for my body in college, to me teaching 11-year-old boys about their bodies when I taught sex education in Newark, and I have enjoyed every moment of this journey. So the pillar that I will be talking about today is the 4th pillar, the right to parent the children we have in safe and sustainable communities. And in order to do that, I want to talk about an experience I had in the summer of 2017. So in 2017, I had the privilege of interning at the International Rescue Committee under the chief case manager. We saw clients fleeing from every corner of the world, from war, poverty, or religious persecution, a number of other issues. I heard stories about refugee camps, family members being murdered, starvation, and the seemingly endless list of steps that they needed to take in order to come to the United States. People left their cultures, families, and sometimes everyone they knew just for the chance to raise their children in a safer place. But then once they got to the United States, their struggle continued. I learned that the IRC can only pay rent for asylum seekers and refugees for 9 months after they arrive. Parents have to learn how to navigate a new language, culture, city, and an ever-changing and very underfunded city bus system in order to get a job to feed their families after the IRC can't support them. I watched as someone unfamiliar with the SNAP system spend all of their monthly stipend in a week and then had to figure out how to get food for the rest of the month. I think it's important to note that many of the issues refugees face when they come to America are not unlike the issues that many low-income families face on a daily basis. SNAP benefits can be very difficult to navigate since not all stores accept SNAP. Housing costs are at an all-time high, and after the pandemic, we saw a massive eviction wave spread across our country as well, displacing families from their homes and forcing them to move, their landlords or government not really seeming to care if their new home was on a different bus route to their job, so they had to rethink childcare, or if the housing that they obtained was in an unsafe area or in a food desert. When we talk about reproductive justice, I think it's so important that we make sure we discuss the fourth pillar. And I often think about Dan Price, who is the CEO of a credit card processing company. And 6 years ago, he decided to raise the minimum salary in the entire company to $70,000 a year. And in the following years, not only did revenue for the company soar, but there was a massive baby boom. He reported our employees had a 10 times boom in the number of babies they were having. We went from having between 0 to 2 babies born per year among the entire team to over 65 born or announced in the last 6 years. And I think this shows we have the resources to make this dream a reality. And in order to get there, we need to make sure that our voices are strong and clear and hopeful. I send so much love to my community at Beacon, who I miss so much. And I ask that if you are financially able, please consider donating to the IRC. They do amazing work, and they need everything from old lunchboxes to couches to just your time, energy, and if you have cash, that won't hurt either. Sending a lot of love. Bye-bye.
I light a candle for all of us whose story includes a forced choice or no choice at all, in whose bodies are valued and how our bodies are treated, for anyone who has encountered violence where there should have been tenderness and care. The circumstances vary. The timelines of our lives are diverse, but our history tells the story again and again of the attempt to control our bodies as if they were not our own. I light a final candle now for communities the world over where reproductive justice is not yet, including within this country we call our own. The circumstances may vary, the timelines of our lives are diverse, but each beloved should be given reproductive justice in honoring of their truth, their path, their calling in the diversity of who they are. May our communities across the world affirm this justice and make it so.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire, and have not love, my words are vain, as sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving so my love profess, but not be given my love within, the profit
I begin with gratitude for all today who have spoken with bravest fire. Mary Alice, Crowley, Thule, and Anna. Their voices are not alone this day. They have joined the mighty river of brave voices in Unitarian Universalist congregations as together in solidarity with one another, we lift up reproductive justice. I begin with gratitude because I have not been ready to tell both my boring story or to expose the pain points of my reproductive stories. I have not unpacked both the personal or societal shame that runs through them, a shame not named, but there in the air we breathe, there in eyes averted and subjects changed, there in the judgments released through a passing exhale when the subject is brought up, whispering, "Don't go there," demanding, "Don't go there," especially in a house of worship. Beloved, I have protected my stories. When it comes up, I have instead argued with facts and intellect, with my head and not my heart, and definitely not my story. All while the religious and political right fights with stories of murdered babies. Stories used to unite the right, says Susan Farr, and to divide the left. Our shame-intensive culture, says Reverend Rob Keithan, has been very successful at encouraging most everyone to suppress their emotional and spiritual needs related to sexual and reproductive experiences. The result is that a vast majority of people in this country, including many Unitarian Universalist congregations, navigate incredibly challenging situations with little to no support from their spiritual leaders or their communities. Beloved, I know that I am not alone, and I know that has to change. We've got to be brave. Amanda Gorman wrote this week in the New York Times, "Maybe being brave enough doesn't mean lessening my fear, but listening to it. In this way, I look at fear not as cowardice, but as a call forward, a summons to fight for what we hold dear." So today, beloved, fear is calling me forward. I can be brave. Can you be brave with me? In 2008, Beacon leaders visited First Unitarian in Dallas and listened to their story about their history, about their women's alliance in the early 1970s and their early steadfast support of Roe v. Wade when it began its journey through the Texas court system. This small group of female-identified folks encouraged the lead attorney, Sarah Weddington, to pursue the case, even though she was beginning her career, even though she wasn't sure that she wanted to be involved in such a controversial case, meaning even though she was afraid. Over almost 50 years, it has been this small group in Texas, along with others who have joined that Women's Alliance, who have fiercely and lovingly journeyed with friends and strangers through their stories of reproductive freedom and justice and the right to abortion. As people of faith, they have volunteered weekly as chaplains at the local health clinics to offer non-judgmental presence and to bless the people seeking abortions. They have continued this ministry of elaborate care and fierce loving as the journeying has become even more harrowing this past year in Texas with the 6-week ban. Now, these same people of faith are getting on planes with strangers and friends seeking abortion and journeying to local states where it is legal, providing essential support from takeoff to touchdown and every moment in between. Their senior minister, Daniel Cantor, shared with Reverend Robin and Dr. Thule and I that it's no longer a matter of if Roe v. Wade gets overturned, it's when. And he shared with us that that will cause a public health crisis. Who will journey with the thousands, he asked. On January 13th, Governor Murphy signed the historic Freedom of Reproductive Choice Act, which codified the constitutional right to freedom of reproductive choice in our state, here in New Jersey. With this legislation, if Roe v. Wade were overturned, the right to reproductive choice would be protected in New Jersey. Claire Anderson, the daughter of Beacon members Roger and Linda, who took our whole lives with Dr. Tooley right here in our sanctuary and who now works for the legislators who pushed this piece forward, was there for the signing. She even got a pen. That means New Jersey is a sanctuary. So when the public health crisis hits the states around us, I'm looking at my home state of Pennsylvania, will we be ready to journey with friends and strangers to ensure that their stories have access and love, encouragement and compassion woven through them? We need to be ready, and we need to be ready as people of faith, because for far too long, people who are comfortable with reproductive justice are not comfortable with religion, and people who are comfortable with religion are not comfortable with reproductive justice. That has to change now. We need to be ready and ready as people of faith. We need to know our local health clinics. We need to establish a network of partners, and we will need to fund this elaborate care. We will need to be ready as chaplains, ready to speak our personal stories, ready to invite people to share their stories with us and to offer them fierce, unconditional love and acceptance. And we will need to unpack and release our judgment and shame. Beloved, fear is calling us forward. I can be brave. Will you be brave with me? While it may seem like I am asking you to take on yet another campaign, I am not. Reverend Robin, Dr. Tooley, and I are encouraging you to see reproductive justice work as part of the ministry that we are already doing. If you are dismantling racism, you are a part of the reproductive justice movement. If you are working for voter rights, you are a part of our movement. If you are teaching AL, if you are fighting for LGBT rights, if you are centering trans and non-binary folks, you are a part of the reproductive justice movement. If you are a community organizer and an activist, if you are fighting anti-Semitism and hate, if you are providing avenues of hospitality and support for every immigrant neighbor, you are a part of the reproductive justice movement. Here we are together, interwoven, so let's be brave, beloved. Let us speak with bravest fire, creating a living, breathing river of hope, a mighty river gathering momentum with each and every story we share. Our fear is calling us forward. Let us be brave. Amen and Ashe.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark David Buckles and I'm excited to share one of my favorite hymns with you that you may already know. It's Peace Like a River. And one of the things that I love about this song, this hymn, is that it's not all happy. It acknowledges the many things that we're feeling and that we can have complicated feelings. We can hold pain and joy at the same time, and that's okay, and even that can be worth celebrating, that we feel those things. So I love that we sing about having peace like a river and pain like an arrow and strength like a mountain. And in the end, we return to this idea of peace, that we always have the ability to tune back into that peace like a river in our souls. And when I think of a river, I think of the fact that no matter what, it just keeps going. I hope you'll sing Peace Like a River with me. If you don't know it, I think you'll pick it up really quickly. goes like this. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow. I've got pain like an arrow in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops. I've got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I've got strength like the mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. Thank you, everyone.
As we leave the sacred gathering, may the words we have heard resound in our minds and in our hearts. May our bodies, like unfettered rivers, remind us to keep our commitments to one another. May the beginnings and the endings in our stories be held in unconditional love and acceptance, and in service to each other as we shine our light out into the world until we meet again. Blessed be, and amen.